The FI community is built on overachievers. Saving enough money to retire early doesn't happen by accident. It comes with years of hard work, discipline, and using money as a clear scorecard for success. That focus is a superpower on your path to financial independence, but it becomes a problem when you're close to or even cross the finish line. Because even after we've won the game of money, many people don't slow down. We continue to chase financial milestones, we move the goalpost, and we turn our FIRE number into a fat FIRE number. Not because we need more money, but because we don't know who we are without chasing it. Today's guest, Justin David Carl, experienced this firsthand. After years of earning hundreds of thousands of dollars, leaving his high-paying job forced Justin to confront a tough question. Who am I if I no longer make a ton of money? In this conversation, we'll talk about navigating life and work after money is no longer the main constraint, redefining success after financial independence, and how to shift from optimizing net worth to optimizing net life. I hope you enjoy my conversation with the life alchemist, fashionista, and fitness and money coach, Justin David Carl. One of my favorite topics that I ran across when researching you was this concept around optimizing net life instead of net worth. We're going to spend some time on this thread, but maybe first, can you define what you mean by net life? Like, what does that actually mean to you?
What a great question. I'm not sure if I've actually thought about a clear definition. What comes to mind first is really a feeling of aliveness. So that's what I'm doing my best to optimize, is feeling absolutely alive, in love with my life, the day-to-day aspects of it, waking up excited to do whatever it is I'm going to do. In the current season of my life, that's playing a ridiculous amount of pickleball, working out at the gym, spending time in nature, reading, podcasting, writing my newsletter, coaching my clients. But really, I'm only working about 10 to 15 hours part-time by choice on stuff I'm really passionate about that I would literally pay to do. And that has been a conversation I've been having a lot with myself, with friends, with my wife, is I only want to do work right now at this stage in my life that I would literally pay to do because I love it so much. And I'm one of those people who was never interested in the RE of FIRE. I never planned to retire. I always figured I would work in some capacity because I truly believe that humans are designed to be productive. We're designed to be of service to others and to create. I think every human is a creator. They're a creator of their own life. They're a creator of bringing more goodness into this world, making other people's lives better, making the world a better place. And I struggled when I left the high-paying job because I've been an overachiever my entire life. As I mentioned to you in the pre-recording, I think just about everyone who pursues financial independence, and especially those who achieve it, by nature, by default, are overachievers. When I was working this job, I was in a B2B, business-to-business sales job in Silicon Valley, SF, Bay Area tech. So I was selling multi-million-dollar deals into tech companies that purchased our company's products and services. In the intro, I was a little worried that like, oh God, people are going to think I'm this like high-earning douchebag who's like, who is this guy? And I want to preface that with, I grew up dirt poor. My parents went bankrupt. They were farmers. I was on the free lunch program at school. In my opinion, my parents divorced and separated because of money. I had two dreams when I was a kid, and it was to be fit and rich, which is one of the reasons my brand is Fit Rich Life, is because I struggled with my fitness most of my life up until my 30s, and I grew up where I was stressed to ask my mom for new soccer shoes because money was so tight. I was driven because of that upbringing to earn as much money as possible. And for those who know my story, I know you know it, Justin, but your audience doesn't. I spent the first part of my income generating years in my 20s looking rich, but not actually creating any net worth. So I drove the fancy Range Rover. I had the fancy condo. I ate out all of the nice restaurants, And I was spending 110 to 120% of my income. So I was going deeper and deeper into debt in my 20s because even though I was making great money, and that's been one of my superpowers, is my ability to earn. The first 10 years, really, I spent that spending way more than I was actually making. And so by the time I left my first career, which was in the Hollywood nightclub business, we can go into that if you want, we don't have to, I was $80,000 in debt and 6 years behind on my taxes. And then at the end of 2017, this was about 2.5 years into this new career in B2B sales in the tech world in San Francisco Bay Area. I discovered financial independence. And I read the infamous Mr. Money Mustache article, The Shockingly Simple Math Behind Early Retirement. And it made complete sense to me. Literally, my mind exploded. And in my mind, I was like, Jesus, if I had understood this when I was making all that money in the nightclub business, I'd already be a millionaire. I'd already be a multimillionaire, financially independent, well before 30. But instead, at 30, 31, up until 34, I was in debt. Then I discovered it and I went bananas. I decided I'm going to get to financial independence as fast as possible. And it's really just a game of optimizing your savings rate. So at the same time I discovered financial independence, I also got 2 sales mentors who told me, Justin, in B2B sales, you can make 500 to $1 million a year. And prior to that, I was maybe making 150. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I can? And they're like, absolutely. You have the charisma, the skill set, and you're in the right industry. We're doing it. You can do it. And within a year of working with them, I went from 150 to over 400,000. The following year, I did over 700,000. And then my peak year, the third year after working with them, I did $888,000 in a single year. And this coincided with my discovery of financial independence. So I sold the Range Rover and got a 2012 Prius that I still have today. I decided I was not going to eat out at restaurants for the foreseeable future. So I literally did not eat out at restaurants for 3 years. Now, I told my wife, you can continue to eat out, but my highest excitement is saving every single dollar I can and investing it. And the thing I always share when I talk about my story is this was not miserable for me. I had so much fun. I decided when I was going to pursue financial independence that I was going to feel as free as possible and have as much fun as possible. And I did. It was just this huge game. Like, how high can I get my savings rate? How many ridiculous things can I do to save $10 here, $50 there, $100 there, $1,000 there? And at the same exact time, how can I earn as much money as possible? And I got my savings rate to 80 to 90%. So I went from negative $80,000 to a millionaire in about 2.5 years. And then by year 3, I was a multimillionaire. Somewhere between year 3 and 4, I was a multimillionaire. And then I kind of slowed down on the frugality extremeness, but I'm still frugal in some aspects. I still drive the 2012 Prius, but I spend a lot of money on pickleball paddles now. But really, I spent 10 years being the high performer at my company. And we were a Stanford founded company. Our founder, I met him when I went back to Stanford because I had dropped out of Stanford actually and fell into the nightclub career, got super addicted to that career, did a lot of drugs and alcohol, and started to do less drugs and alcohol, realized I needed to go finish my degree, went back to Stanford, and I met him in a class, and I became employee number 4 of that company. And it was such a wild ride because when I joined the company, there was 4 of us. At our peak, we were over almost 900 people. And we went through Stanford's accelerator, which is StartX. We went through Y Combinator, which has had a hand in Uber and a lot of other large, super successful companies. And then COVID hit. and we did snacks and catering for all the tech companies across the nation, which is like, oh, that can't be that much money. But a 500-person company spends $1 million a year on snacks and $3 to $5 million a year on catering. So this is how I was locking in multi-million-dollar deals, and I was getting commission off of it. COVID hit. We lose 90% of our revenue. We're at a revenue run rate of $100 million a year. We were doing $100 million a year. And in 3 months, we went down to $10 million a year. And it was like, I better start planning the next thing. And that's when I decided to start a coaching practice. I started a fitness and money coaching practice. And I started my podcast in 2022. So COVID hit in 2020. I started thinking about it, started working towards that, launched that. And when I thought I would leave my 9 to 5, because I always assumed at some point we're probably going to go under, get acquired, not make it. So I was planning for leaving this company. Now, I didn't quit. I would have stayed. Honestly, I'd still be there, I think, if I hadn't got laid off. In March of 2024, our company was acquired and they laid off the entire sales team, myself included. And I knew it was coming, so it was no surprise. And I thought I was so ready for, okay, cool, I'll just put a little more time into my coaching and my podcast. And of course, the first few weeks, it was great. It's just like, oh, I have even more free time and I can do whatever I want and I don't have any bosses anymore. And I loved my bosses. I loved my work. Again, I'd still be there if they hadn't laid me off. I essentially started to feel really lost because I had spent a decade playing this game of being the top performing salesperson, and my sense of self-worth was tied to being that top salesperson, to being at the Stanford founded startup company, to being in Bay Area tech, to earning so much freaking money. I was like, okay, who am I if I'm not making $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year? I would say that in my head and realize in the moment, this is stupid. Like, who cares? But my ego was like, no, it matters. And so I struggled. Honestly, 2024, it was just an mental, emotional, spiritual roller coaster. So like any high performer, my solution was like, okay, let's just figure out how to make $500,000 a year with my online business.
At this point in time, you were financially independent. In March of 2024, in terms of net worth, and where were you at? And I guess what was your target fire number too? Just so there's some context. Were you still like on the path to reach financial independence, or had you already reached it?
Yeah, so this is hilarious. I reached financial independence. My original target was 1.5 million. I reached that in March of 2021.
Okay.
So 3
even
years
yeah.
before I got laid off.
Yeah.
But I was like, I enjoy the work. I work 3 to 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, 95% of the year. It's like, why leave?
Yep.
They didn't care if I coached on the side. They didn't care if I had a podcast. And so I was way past that. I think when I got laid off, I can look it up, but I was somewhere just shy, somewhere between 2.5 and 3 million. And right now, as of this recording, I'm at 3.4.
You're way past your fire number at the point of leaving. We've talked about this concept a couple of times too, and I don't know where you stand on it as well, but these okay jobs, I feel like, are actually some of like the biggest traps that the FI community can fall into. It's, we've reached financial independence and there's nothing like pushing us out the door. We don't hate our job, so it's like,
Yeah.
We're like, in your case, you're making really good money and you grew up poor. So there's also kind of this scarcity mindset that might be there.
100%.
There might also be a little bit of guilt around like the fact that you're getting paid this much and you would walk away from an opportunity like this. Like, how many people would dream and love to have the same amount of income that you had on that? So I'm guessing there was some guilt with all of that. I don't know where I stand, and like, how long of runway do you continue to give an okay job after reaching financial independence because you can also get in a trap staying there for 3 years and eventually being booted out just because of an acquisition and not even because you were planning on making that transition.
I haven't shared this publicly yet, I don't think. But we moved to Santa Cruz from Menlo Park in September of 2022. And in July of 2022, I launched my coaching business. In April of 2022, I launched my podcast. By September, I was literally doing 3 jobs in a sense. I was podcasting, I was coaching, and I was working this 9-to-5 sales job. Even with all those things, I did not work that many hours. I even had Fridays off of all my businesses, including my 9-to-5. We had a 4-day work week. I was so mentally exhausted from juggling 3 different business endeavors. The task switching costs of going from coaching to podcasting to selling my company's services. By the time I got to Friday and the weekend, all I wanted to do was watch Netflix and sleep. And my wife was like, what the fuck? We just moved 5 minutes from the beach and all you're doing is sleeping. I was so exhausted. I almost left the Golden Goose 9-to-5 job because I was just so mentally, emotionally exhausted of doing those 3 endeavors at the same time. And what I recognize in retrospect is anytime you start something new, there's this ramp up period where it takes a lot more mental, emotional energy until you get to a certain level. And then it's like your mind and body kind of know what to do. It's just like when you start a new training program, you can't go run 20 miles if you've never run a mile in the last 12 months. You have to build up to it. And so in fitness, I think that can take 4 to 8 weeks. In business, I think it will take potentially 8 to 12 months or more. So when I was laid off, one of the best parts is I slept, no joke, Justin, 10 to 12 hours a night for an entire year.
You know Jillian Johnsred? I'm guessing you do.
Yeah, she's been on the show a couple times, yeah.
I've talked to her about many retirements plenty of times. And we've talked, I don't remember if it was on the show or not, about the fact that you might just need the first 4 weeks of your mini retirement to catch up on sleep, to rest, like to feel full. And I think this is also a bit of the trap of the people that are working that okay job. They don't realize how much mental energy it's draining from them. And it's not allowing you to step into what is ultimately going to be your transition into your post-fi life or whatever you see it yourself beyond that 9-to-5. Because I was with you. I was working a 9-to-5 full time. I was working a part-time job. I was running my podcast. And I really wanted to do other things. Like I wanted to pick up new hobbies. I wanted to spend more time with friends. But like you too, I'd get to Friday evening and all I wanted to do was like watch an hour or two of TV and then go to bed because I was that mentally exhausted. And I wasn't really giving myself the opportunity to transition into the next stage of life because I was carrying so much a mental and emotional baggage from my daily 9-to-5 that it was hard for me to actually step into something. And therefore I wasn't excited to move into anything else. And then I just kept doing the same thing over and over and over again. And I kind of got caught in the time loop of what it is to just work in an okay job.
Yeah, it was tough. So one of the processes that I had to go through was moving into this space of emptiness where I literally just did not know what I was doing. So I spent 6 to 8 months trying to figure out how to get my online business to make $500,000 a year and being like, yes, this is the goal I'm going after. And my ego loved that. But my spirit and my subconscious knew that wasn't the right thing for me. But my ego was still in like the driver's seat of trying to be the high performer. So it's like, oh, I won the game of being the high performing sales person at my job for 10 years straight. Now I got to become one of the highest online solo entrepreneur creators, even though like my heart wasn't in it, but my ego was all for it. Eventually, I read this incredible book called Transitions. I have it right here, by William Bridges. The subtitle is Making Sense of Life's Changes. And in it, he talks about when you transition from, say, one career to another, or one stage of life, say, working career to retired, there's this transition period. And part of that transition period is literally just sitting in the emptiness. You've lost the thing that you've known for a very long time, but the new thing that you're stepping into has not emerged. And it's really confusing for overachievers because we always feel like we should know what we're doing. We should be working towards some goal or something. It was really hard for me. So I had a lot of conversations with coaches that I work with, mentors. I even decided to maybe the solution was just to go get another high paying sales job.
I've heard you talk about this story a couple of times too. And like, I was almost so furious for you whenever I was listening to you talk about this story. Tell me a little bit about kind of what led up to that moment and then what transpired afterwards.
Of course, as a creator, I created a course. And I've been a very successful fitness and money coach working one-on-one in group settings, but I have not cracked the nut on how do you sell a course. So I built and released a course and it did okay, but I'm not making $500,000 a year from it. And after I did that and had lackluster, not doing $500,000 a year in sales on that, my ego was like, maybe we should just go get another sales job. I'm a big meditator and behind the scenes, I'm quite spiritual. And I was on my Peloton, and oftentimes when I'm doing a repetitive thing like running or cycling, I'll almost do like prayer work or visualization or connect with my higher being. And on that Peloton ride, I just asked my higher self to bring some people into my life that would help me figure out what the next thing to do is. And within 1 or 2 days, the CEO and founder of my previous company randomly reached out to me, and he had started a new company that has already raised $400 million. And we got on the phone, and I started kind of telling him about this, feel a little lost, don't really know what I'm doing with my life. And he was like, do you want to come work for my new company? And I was like, maybe. And he's like, great. I will introduce you to my head of business development. And it was at this time that I was thinking of getting another sales job. Also, within that same period, another person that I had become friends with over Threads reached out to me. We got on a Zoom and he said, hey, I'd like to help you with your online business, with the marketing of it and growing it. Would you be open to working with me? So the universe literally presented me these two different options, these two different people. I basically just went and checked out both. So I started working with this individual, his name's Kevin, on my online business. And I absolutely love working with him. He's incredible. Every time I meet with him, after I get off a meeting with him, I'm enlivened, I'm excited. He understands my vision. He's not trying to get me to do things I don't want to do, because I explored working with different coaches to grow my online business. One of them was literally like, no, you have to niche down. You need to either do fitness or money. That's not me. I'm obsessed with fitness. I'm obsessed with financial independence. I'm obsessed with building an incredible life. And he just got that. And he was down to work with me. So we've been working together for the last few months, and that's been amazing. And I parallel tracked the sales job interview. So I literally met with two of my sales mentors, got my LinkedIn updated, got my resume updated, had them write me LinkedIn recommendations, and then I interviewed with the head of BD of this new company. And the interview went amazing. I was like, oh, job's in the bag for sure. Then I don't hear back for weeks. Weeks turn into months. And then the CEO of the company reaches out to me and he says, hey, I'm sorry. We haven't finished building our product yet. Subtext, we don't have anything to sell, so we can't hire you yet. And I took that as a sign from the universe that for now, it doesn't make sense for me to go do a sales job. Now, that company may come back and say, hey, we're ready. Here's a guarantee of $500,000 a year. And as I said on the Mile High 5 podcast with Doug Cunnington, the most recent episode I did with him, I don't know what I'll say. If they give me like a crazy offer, if they say you can work remote, you don't have to travel, you can have Fridays off, we'll guarantee this, I don't know. But that hasn't happened.
How would you approach that decision differently, now versus kind of when you were in the midst of the kind of sorting out your ego around making money and being really tied to that identity? It seems like you've at least developed or done some work since then to realize, okay, I don't have to, like my ego isn't depending on how much money I make this year. It still sounds like you have some interest in the sales job. How are you deciphering if that's the right choice for how you want to spend your time in the near future?
Until that becomes an option, meaning they reach back out to me and say, hey, I'm just maximizing my net life.
You're just at peace with, I'm not even going to think about that or worry about that. When
Correct.
It comes around, then 100%. I'll start thinking about it.
Exactly. And I'm not applying to any other sales jobs. I'm just podcasting part-time, coaching part-time, doing my newsletter, and learning about email marketing and automation. Because what I'm most interested in right now, honestly, when it comes to money making, is building an online business. And I think this is important to share with your audience because, in my opinion, the fastest way to become financially free now is to build an online business around one of your interests. And even if it just covers your cost of living, but it's work you enjoy and you work for yourself, you are financially free. You might not have $1 million net worth, but your business that is built around an interest or passion or set of interests and passions literally supports your lifestyle. And in my mind, that's financial freedom. And that's infinitely faster than working a 9-to-5, saving and investing in the stock market or going the real estate route. You can literally build a business online around almost anything in 1 to 3 years. Whereas the 9-to-5 investing in a stock market, that's a 5 to 12 year journey. The real estate, working a 9-to-5 and then doing real estate, that's a 4 to 10 year journey. So I think the fastest route to financial freedom is building an online business around an interest. So I'm trying to learn, how do I create a super semi-passive digital asset like a course that all the back-end stuff is built? So once someone joins, say, my newsletter or signs up for a lead magnet, then they just go through a whole email sequence that's pre-built. And then at the end, there's, an opportunity for them to get the course. And the course is like $100 or something. And it's something I believe is of service to people. So I'm not just shilling myself trying to make money, but I'm doing my best to take what I've learned and give it to people at a potentially really low cost option that may be the thing that helps them on their journey. And what I've learned being a coach over the last 3.5 years is if you get it for free, you do nothing with it. Everything's for free on the internet. You can look up anything and everything. But when people pay for a course or coaching, they actually do something with it. So that's why I believe that all creators should be selling something, whether it's coaching, a course, or something, because you're packaging up your expertise and you're collapsing time for them. They could spend a year or two researching and learning online for free, or they could go through a course and in 2 to 6 weeks be like, boom, I just saved 11 months.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of smart people recognize that paying for a service is paying for accountability and implementation, not necessarily knowledge. Especially with AI and ChatGPT nowadays, it's easy to build a plan or to get the knowledge of what you need to do, but to implement it, I run a podcast production company on the background, and I have so many people that come to me that are finally like, you know what, I've been trying to start a podcast for 8 months now, and I think I'm actually ready to start that. And I think I'm not going to do it unless I hire someone to do it. So yeah, that comes to me
literally
a fair
me.
amount.
So I spent 8 to 10 years telling my wife that I wanted to start a podcast. And finally, she was so fed up listening to me. She said, I'm sick of you talking about this. You need to work with a coach whose number one responsibility is to hold you accountable to launching this podcast. Started working with that coach, realized I'm never going to learn how to edit my podcast. Yeah. Never, because that was the excuse.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to teach myself one day to do the post-production. Hired an editor. Within 4 months of working with that coach, I had a podcast. And now episode 97 is coming out tomorrow. And I still pay for post-production.
Yes, as you should. As you
100%.
should.
I don't want to do it. I just want to talk to people. I love finding guests. I love talking to guests. I do not love editing. I've never edited a show in my life, and I never will.
And almost back to your definition on kind of net worth versus net life, you kind of told me net worth is doing things to make money in order to grow your wealth versus net life is doing the things that you would even pay to do. And in that case, if you're kind of running it through that filter, it does not sound like you enjoy editing, so you will happily pay someone else to do that in order to do something that you love and you would probably almost pay to do, which is podcast and have amazing conversations with interesting guests.
100%. I do pay to podcast. I mean, I make a little bit of money, but not enough to be like, yes, I'm making a ton of money. And the net life, I think, is such an incredible filter because what I've done is I'm not saying I can't grow my net worth, I can't make money. I'm saying that is no longer the number one priority because I spent years, several years where the number one priority was grow the net worth. And I had a ton of fun doing it, but that no longer makes sense because I could go make $500,000 a year selling some tech company's product or services, but then I'm working on someone else's dream. Yeah. And that's what I'm struggling with now. For example, if this other company came back to me and said, hey, here's your job, then I'm working on someone else's dream again. If they're okay with me continuing to work on my dreams, maybe it works out. Maybe it doesn't make sense. Maybe I try it and I'm 6 months later, this is not working. But I don't know because that hasn't happened yet. So I'm still in such new, like I've never been in this place in my life before.
That's such an interesting place, especially knowing that you don't need to grow your net worth. Like it doesn't hurt to grow your net worth. And sure, it probably is fun to, make $500,000 again, but do you need it? I only see it probably working for you if that money goes to paying for or improving something that you're really passionate about already. What would your podcast look like if you had a $100,000 budget to run on your podcast or $200,000 budget to run on your podcast? Like you could get rid of absolutely everything that you hated. You could do paid ads. You could buy all the best gear. You could
have an incredible studio where I invite guests in person.
Yes. So like I said, part of me thinks maybe that works if you know it's fueling the dream on the other side, the net life aspects of it. But I'm super curious to kind of hear whenever that decision does come up again, what you end up deciding.
It's so challenging because I'm so happy with my life right now. So the last 8 months, I've been really proactively building the macronutrients of my best fit rich life.
Can you bullet like a couple of examples of what you mean by that?
So I love to podcast, But I don't want a podcast every week because then I feel like I'm on this grind to get a new episode out every week. So I shifted to every other week, and I'm like, this is amazing. I feel like I'm making progress, and I'm such a big believer in progress in some area of life that is important to you, because progress is one of the few things that reliably makes humans happy. Every other week, I'm releasing a podcast. Every Saturday, I share tools and strategies for fitness, money, and life. So one week, it's just what's on my mind. The following week, it's what the guest tips, tools, and strategies for fitness and money life were. And so I get to write, I get to speak, and then I work with 8 to 12 clients, mostly Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday after 1 o'clock. I have 1 to 3 one-on-one coaching sessions with my clients. This is after I've played 2 to 4 hours of pickleball. So I pretty much do not have any meetings before 1 o'clock. We're recording at 12 o'clock today because Justin had to cut an hour into my pickleball time. So no, but I'm getting just enough work, but not too much. It's like the Goldilocks, right? So I love to work. And right now in this season of my life, 10 to 15 hours a week is like perfect. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm having a massive impact in the lives of my individual coaching clients. I feel like I'm speaking to incredibly brilliant people that I'm fascinated with. Like, one of the biggest reasons I podcast is it gives me an excuse to talk to people I'm genuinely fascinated by. And I get to ask them anything I want and learn from them. And at the same time, share everything, all their insight, wisdom, gold nuggets with everyone who listens to my show. And it's such an enjoyable process. I love researching guests. I will spend 2 to 10 hours or more. If they have a book, it's going to be more. But I listen to a minimum of 2 interviews they've already done. I read through their blog. I read their book. And that is so freaking fun for me to prep. But I don't want to grind it out. So every week I got another podcast I'm getting out. And every other week is amazing for me. I work out 4 to 6 times a week, strength train. I'm a hybrid athlete, so don't even ask me about my training routine because I do everything: gymnastics rings, bodybuilding, kettlebells, weighted batons, sleds, sandbags. I run, I cycle, I rollerblade. I'm obsessed with movement. I love to move. As I told Justin before we hit record, I'm literally pedaling on a bike chair right now as we're recording this. I have my step tracker on my ankle so I can count these steps. I'm a fanatical, obsessive person, which is a superpower and can be my kryptonite depending on what it's applied to. In the past, it was applied to drugs and alcohol. That didn't go so well. And so it's having the right amount of play, the right amount of work, and the right amount of meaning that creates a net life that just keeps growing.
I love that a lot. And I think this is the privilege that us that are transitioning from the boring middle, growing your wealth stage into the kind of decumulation stage is that we don't have to become allergic to work, but we have to rethink about work in the sense of your life no longer fitting into your work, but instead your work fitting into your life. And doing simple things like you said, like time blocking periods of your week for meetings, the things that are going to require you to not be able to work async is probably one critical area. It is working less hours. Like, just the fact a lot of people will probably love to do what they did if they just did it half the amount of time that they do it now. More times than not, people like what they do. They're just doing too much of it. Even with podcasting, that was such a fascinating thread of listening to you talk about podcasting. I did the exact same thing where I was on the weekly grind, which I think is a great for an early podcaster. Start getting your reps in, learn this craft, and get really good at this craft very quickly. But then I found the sweet spot of a bi-weekly schedule for me. Listener, I would love to give you a weekly episode, and on occasion you see bonus episodes come through, but that's just when I'm feeling inspired and I want to drop something or I want to push a schedule forward. But other than that, bi-weekly feels really right for me. And you're probably not going to get me on a weekly cadence unless I'm really excited to move that direction. So I do think taking a step back and then thinking about work, not once again, not in the context of like a binary decision, like don't do work or do work, but instead like how can I portionalize this to fit the life that I have so I can also insert meaning and fun, kind of these two other critical factors you mentioned of such important aspects of the net life concept that you're talking about here.
You said something I want to double click on. And what I'm trying to do is build a life first business. So most people, when they start their side hustle that turns into a business, or they have a 9-to-5 career or really any work, their life is built around their work. I'm trying to build my work around my life. So my life takes precedence. So all the things that bring me joy that are non-income generating, like playing pickleball, like going to the gym, like spending time with my wife, like spending time with my friends, going traveling, those things all come first. They are the priority because they are the things that when I'm on my deathbed, I'm going to remember and appreciate those. I'm not going to even think about, oh, I wish I had made an extra $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 that year instead of having those incredible experiences. And one other piece, one other macronutrient to the high net life for me is traveling, but not, I think a lot of people in the FI community, no offense to them, are obsessed with traveling. I want to go on 2 to 4 trips a year. They could be 1 to 3 weeks long. I'm not the like, I want to go travel for 6 to 12 months. I love the life I live at home. Absolutely love it. Every day I'm playing pickleball. We get 300 plus days of sunshine. I'm outside for hours under the sun with 30 to 40 plus other people laughing, playing, sweating, running around, sprinting, jumping, hammering pickleballs at people. And it is so much fun. And then at the gym, I have so many crazy fit friends. One of the big parts of my happiness outside of the pickleball, the two things that really brought back the joy were pickleball, because I had forgotten this part of me that loves to compete in a physical sense. So growing up, I played soccer year round, literally from, I think, 4th grade through 12th grade. So 8 years, 11 out of 12 months, I played soccer. And then when I went to college, I just stopped playing sports because I was kind of burned out, to be honest. And now I'm playing pickleball. And in a pickleball game, most of them last maybe 15 minutes. And you know if you've won or lost. And I just forgot how much I love to compete. And this is one thing I want to share that I've shared with my clients and in my newsletter, but I don't think I've talked about it on someone else's podcast. I think it is so important, especially for men, but for women too, to do something that taps into that competitive spirit, because physical competition taps into the masculine spirit. Now, everyone has both feminine and masculine energy, but physical competition is a masculine energy. And what I realized when I started playing pickleball is I tapped into this whole new energy source that I forgot that I used to have. And I have so much freaking energy now, it's insane. Like I can literally play 7 hours of pickleball in a single day and then go do other things. And so I always tell my clients who are struggling with energy, join a pickleball league, start playing basketball like in a league, any competitive thing, marathons, running clubs, anything that gets you competing with other humans in a physical pursuit. The goal isn't to be the best or to win, it's to compete. And the Greeks' original definition, I believe, of competition was to strive together. That competition, it animates my spirit, and I see it in other people who understand this too. It just taps into this part of you that is another source of energy that you can then apply to your business, apply to your marriage, apply to your friendships. And so that's the thing I wanted to share. So playing pickleball reawoken that part of myself I had forgotten. And then the new gym, Santa Cruz Athletic Club, shout out to Chris and Camille, the owners. It is one of the nicest gyms I've ever been to. And it just opened over the summer. And it's like a nightclub and an Equinox, which is a high-end gym, had a baby. And there are so many fit, attractive people there. And I'm a super loyal husband, but when I go in there and I see other men who are super in shape and in shape women as well, I'm like, I didn't even feel like working out. And now I just want to get jacked because I'm so inspired by the people here. And I have so many new friends from that gym and from my pickleball. And this is the other key piece of after you leave the 9 to 5, I did a really bad job of this when I moved to Santa Cruz from Menlo Park. Because in Menlo Park, I ran a financial independence meetup group every month that 30 to 50 people will come to. I had a rollerblading crew. I had rollerblade with every single week. When I moved to Santa Cruz, I was so focused on building my online business that I did not spend time building in-person community here. And it was no wonder I was struggling from 2022 to April of 2024. Then this gym opened. I started playing pickleball. I have so many friends. I feel so deeply connected to the community here in Santa Cruz. And it's like, oh, duh. The key to happiness is relationships.
Yeah, and if you don't have those relationships, if you don't have that community, it's really obvious or easy to see if you took a step out of work and you don't have something to strive for or people to spend time with, that you just slip back into what you were doing, working and grinding and on someone else's dream. So I do think it's critical as a transition project to consider the community that you're going to spend time with post working your 9 to 5 and where you got to get some of this competitive spirit from or some of this achievement oriented mindset from, because as we talked about, the FI community is built on high achievers. Every single one of these people are high achievers.
100%.
And it's not surprising that many of us come from competitive athlete backgrounds, or even the travel people that are in this community, this subgenre too. So many of them are fueled by seeing more and going more places and pushing themselves in that regard. I do think you should consider supplementing the pursuit of hitting your fire number and increasing your net worth with some kind of other achievement oriented or competitive goal, like athletics, like sports, like marathon training, whatever it may be. And it might give you the bridge to get out of money-focused achievement and into some other kind of achievement-focused goals.
100%. And I want to be clear, the people who love to travel obsessively, I support that. That's just not me. Like I am quite the homebody. I love being home. I spend a lot of time by myself. Me and my wife are opposite schedules. I'm a morning lion. She is a night owl. So I'm up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. She's up somewhere between 9 and 11. I go to bed at 7:30 to 8:30. She goes to bed at 11 to 1. And so we spend a lot of alone time without each other and a lot of alone time together. And we love that. We are child free by choice right now. And on the community aspect, there's a million different things. You could do high rocks, CrossFit, join a running club. It's not, again, about any specific sport or winning. It's about communing with other humans in a shared endeavor. And I think people underestimate how much community connection they get from their place of work. And I think this is particularly challenging for men as men get older. If we are not intentional, our only friends is our wife and our wife's friend, our wife's friends' husbands. Women are naturally really good about building community, in my opinion. But men, as we get older and older, we get lazy about building and maintaining friendships with other men. And I think for men to be happy, we have to have really strong relationships with other men that are not the husbands of our wife's girlfriend.
Well, Justin, it's been a blast chatting with you. We only got through like half the notes, so we'll have to do a part 2 at some point in time here. I'd love to point people both to your podcast. You have a really interesting podcast. So if you could share a little bit about that podcast, and then you're going to leave us with a freebie, a leave behind too. You have if someone's trying to get into their financial independence journey right now and they need some guidance, I know you got a freebie out on your website. So first, let's start with the podcast, and then if you could talk about the freebie.
Absolutely. So my podcast is Fit Rich Life. I will not only give you one lead magnet, I'm just going to give you all three because it'll make sense. So I have a free 29-page money guide. This is more geared to the people just getting into financial independence, although even for the advanced people, there's some mindset stuff in there. So that you can get at moneyguide.fitrichlifecom. For the people who are obsessed with fitness or want to get more into fitness, I have a free 4-day workout. You can get that at fitrichlifecoaching.com/workout. And then for those who want to really optimize their FI journey, the number one thing I tell everyone is track your savings rate. And so I have a free savings rate tracker that you can get at fitrichlifecoaching.com/tracker.
Awesome, Justin. Well, man, this was a blast. Once again, this is Justin David Carl. And Justin, man, I am so excited. I'm glad we got to meet at FinCon and looking forward to hopefully more in-person conversations in the near future.